Ignite your spirituality through creative expression. I think that most people are looking for exterior resources and sources to figure out how to have a spiritual life and how to go within. And we absolutely need guidance. We need things to help us move forward and to help us even go within it. But having mystical teachings, having different types of literature, different types of spiritual texts, experiences that have come from gurus and people from before help us along our path is pivotal. However, I think that we can get really lost in just this constant evolution of searching for something that really is already within us. And not a lot of people want to take the time to journey within. Not a lot of people know how to take the time to journey within. And so, after years of being creative, after years of having a career in that creative endeavor, and seeing the similarities in reading so much spiritual text, having a spiritual life, it's so apparent to me that they're so intertwined. And this idea of being a co-creator in your own reality. And I think it's important that we understand the brevity of it because it's something we don't talk about anymore. This idea that your soul is actually on the line for it. And that's like talk that just doesn't happen anymore because we're so into our TikTok dances and social media and different sorts of things. And I see a lot of people that are lost. I see people that have an internal flame inside of them that is really dimmed. They don't really know how to bring that forward. And it's always this external source to help get there faster. And a lot of it is just you understanding that you do have all the information inside of you. It's just a matter of figuring out how to tap into it and open it up. I'm developing a course that talks about this specifically, igniting your spiritual life, your spirituality through creative expression. Subscribe to my email list and you'll get to be the first to know on what's happening. And if this is in the future that you're watching this, you'll see a link to the course that's already for you. But I want to get into this philosophy and this idea of understanding how we want to get into igniting the soul, igniting the spiritual life, igniting this within us. Because I see that a lot of people actually aren't really there. They're kind of vacant, they're kind of lost. And it's a little bit scary because we're just perpetuating more and more of this as we keep pushing social media, we keep pushing this attention economy. It's so easy to get wrapped into it. I fall victim to it myself. I'm not above any of this. The sense of I can get online and I can just scroll or have had those moments and you start to get numb a little bit, or you're always looking for outside resources to help you figure out what is the next step instead of trying to understand what is it that your body's telling you, what is it that your mind, your heart, your faculties are telling you to do, and listen to that. And even when you don't think you're hearing messages, you're hearing messages. And if it's quiet, that has a meaning to it too. And being able to decipher that code and being okay with sitting in silence, being okay with being alone for a little bit, being okay with going within seems to be scary for some people. So I'm assuming if you found this video, if you're watching this, this is something that you're actually very comfortable with because this won't be for everybody. And I think that there's a really important role that people who want to go into hermit mode, who want to go and do the deep work, who want to go and awaken and do something with that actually has purpose and meaning in itself. And just being these sort of way showers, these lighthouses that walk through the world that are needed, that are really, really needed. And it doesn't even have to be on some grand scale or some major platform. Up to you to decide how you want to leverage that. But there is something very, very easy. This is kind of the easy hack into the spiritual life is to actually be creative. And a lot of people think that creativity is a narrow strip of artistic expression, which it absolutely is, but it's more than that. Anything that you're creating that is an inspired thought An inspired thought is something that came to you that just kind of hit you out of nowhere, that comes from a different source, that comes from the source of the divine, that was given to you. Talked about this in other videos, and you do something with it. It doesn't have to be anything major, but just these little aha moments that come through that you create. And when you go through that process of creating, you hit all of the crescendo of emotions, the highs and the lows, and you're faced with yourself moving through challenges that are constructed by you, that you get to push through, that don't have a lot of pressure or weight behind them. So when you're ready to do the bigger tasks, it's much easier for you. And so I want to talk a little bit more about why we want to ignite our spiritual life and why do we want to ignite our soul? Why do we want to turn that on, right? If you want to think about your soul as kind of this kernel, and there's this flame, this internal flame that's inside of you that's magnified out. And you'll see this with people in the public eye, people that you admire, people that have this magnetism about them that just glows. There's something that shines in their eyes. You can see and you can feel the energy pulsating through them because it's the life force, it's actual life force expanding out into the world. If you've ever seen anybody like that before, especially in person, it's kind of magnificent to be able to see or to witness or to be in a room with somebody that is able to hold all of that type of energy because they're able to connect, they're able to run it through their bodies, and they're able to hold energy. And what does that mean when we hold energy? That means that they can hold attention, they can hold power, they can hold influence, they can hold responsibility, they can hold accountability, they can take on a lot more than most people. They're probably overseeing quite a few things. They might be very much in a leadership role. And so a lot of people have to come to them, they have to give answers all the time. And so that type of responsibility expands your energetic field and you're able to hold that. And that's magnetizing. And so when we can do that, even if we aren't like there's some big major leader, we can still hold that power in our own lives and still be magnetizing to other people. And we want to have this ignited soul so that we're fulfilled and we're filled in our container, in our vessel. When our light gets really dim and it's really small, what happens, what can happen, what has the potential to happen, doesn't always happen, is that other types of energies, other types of entities, other things can come into the body. It is possible to be overtaken, I'm gonna use a lighter word, overtaken by other energies that are not your own, because that person has not opened up and expanded their soul to the things and the purpose that they're supposed to be and they're supposed to do in this life. So possession of a soul is real. I have seen firsthand people that were walking around that actually didn't have a soul, or they were the nicest people, but they were an empty vessel. And that's a very dangerous thing to have. I've seen people that were absolutely possessed. And usually it's because that flame inside of them is really, really small. And that happens over time when we believe the stories, when we believe the lies that we're not worthy, we don't deserve certain things, we don't matter, it doesn't matter what we do. And all that self-doubt and that fear and that worry we take on and we think it's real. We believe that story so much that that becomes our identity. And so that light within us gets really, really dim. And then you add in other substances that continue to make that light really, really dim. And so those types of individuals become susceptible to having other entities, other ideologies overtake them. So it's really easy to get swept up in group mind think, because depending on where you want to go, that has a very powerful magnetic pull. You now, all of a sudden, if you didn't have anything to live for and you didn't have meaning and purpose in your life that you gave to yourself, it's really easy to go into a group, any kind of group, that does have meaning and purpose, and you identify with that. So now you feel like you belong, and now you feel like you're going somewhere. And you have to use discernment with it because there's both good and bad to that. But the idea is that if we're dimming our light and we feel like we're less than, smaller than anyone else, then anything that gives us a sense of power, and usually it's kind of on the opposite end where it's not always the best kind of power, pulling power from other people, we get overtaken. News does this as well. It's really easy to get so absorbed in the news and the current affairs of the day, and we're listening to these speeches that come, this like speak talk that happens, these catchphrases that come in, these rhetorics, these different types of mantras, us versus them, this side is better than that side. We get caught up and we start to have these little grumblings that come inside of us. And that attaches, and that can grow over time if we aren't mindful of what it is that we're listening to, what it is that we're absorbing, and what it is that we're saying. Is this what I really believe, or is this what I've adopted from other thinking and other streams of media and news and conversations that are going on? So we want to be really mindful of what is it that we take. Have you ever met somebody who absolutely had, you could tell that they were angry or frustrated, and there was just this kind of channel of content running through them? I've had this with family members where I can't have a conversation with them because there's like a channel, like a literal like TV channel, TV station running, and they're just in this speak talking about the news and politics and this and that, and it doesn't matter. You can't say anything. It doesn't matter what you say. You can't say anything because there's already a program running in their head. And it's just like they're in their own bubble, and it's so stuck on that one channel that they can't get out of it. And it's usually always doom and gloom. Everything's wrong. Someone's screwing somebody over. Money's going down the drain. Like it's just constant, constant, constant. And then that becomes an identity. And that person has a really hard time with a lot of things in life. And health tends to decline, and relationships tend to decline, and things start to decline because everything has this lens of negativity. And so when we're creating from a place that is inspired, we're creating from a place that is something from above, as whimsical, as silly as it is, you're connecting to a higher source. And you're putting yourself and you're elevating yourself and you're elevating your frequency so that you're able to move through the world with clear vision. Believe it or not, as delusional some of the projects that you think that you're doing, you're actually moving about with clear vision because you're in tune and channeling something directly that you know is true for you. And it may not make sense to anybody else because it wasn't for them, as opposed to adopting a groupthink where it is organized and it is put in a way where people want you to think a certain way so that they can have you move a certain way. So what we want to do is we want to get to a place where you're moving with inspired action by your own incentives, by your own volition, by your own consciousness, awareness, attentiveness, so that you're operating in a way that is unique to you and you're sovereign. I feel like as much as we've been wanting more freedom, we've actually gotten less freedom. It is actually scarier to move in our own paths when it should be what everyone should be encouraged to do with so much technology. And there's so many different ways to make money. And there's so many different ways that we've been trying to push society in living. And yet somehow there's still this huge fear that if you go against the grain, you're going to be ostracized. And yeah, you might be, but that may be because that group no longer serves you and it's time for you to go into a different direction anyway. That those people were always going to hold you back. And those are the same people that would never do the things that you want to do. And because you're changing, you have to change the group, the people, the environment, the thoughts, the energy around you. It has to shift and move. It has to change. Otherwise, it's going to be the same and you're going to feel stuck. And nobody wants to feel stuck. And the way that you get out of being stuck, the way that you get out of feeling like life isn't working is that you get up and make it work and you move in a direction and you start wherever you can possibly start. It doesn't really matter where. The goal is that you keep momentum, that you start doing something and you keep doing it a little bit every day. And if your goal is over here, but all you really want to do is something over here, start with the thing over here. As long as it's moving in the direction you hold a vision, that's when your soul gets ignited. And igniting your spirituality, igniting your soul is a very personal process. And it's unique to you. It's not a formed religion. It's not following some dogma. It's really about fine-tuning and understanding the nature within you to move forward in life, to find your own natural rhythm and be one with nature, be one with yourself, hopefully be a good person, and you figure out what pieces work for you. I'm a huge proponent that you get to like pick out what works best for you. Now, if you're a purist and you're like, I'm one philosophy, one religion, one mindset, cool. But I think that if you can open your eyes and take a step back and see that all of this spiritual text has so much wealth and wisdom in it to learn from, pull from, and you can start to see patterns of just this frequency of love, this frequency of treating each other where we want to be treated. You can start to then open your eyes to a whole new type of world and explore. And it's important, I think, right now that we really develop these skill sets and fine tune this muscle of knowing how to go within so that we can move out into the world. Whichever kind of lifestyle that you want, but you're creating that works best for you and creating, building, designing, planning, architecting. It could be a house. It could be redecorating a room, baking, putting something together. It could be like, it's just anything that you have an idea about and that you want to put into the world is important that you don't block yourself at all from making that happen. We get in our way when we have this idea and then we all of a sudden think, I can't do this. Who am I? That's just the nonsense. It's nonsense. It's not real. The self-doubt, it's not real. Someone put that in your head. So take it out. Take it out and rewire it with something better. I can do this. I will do this. Only hold the vision of what you want in success, and success will be yours. But you have to hold on to the vision like Michelangelo does when he sculpts, like a famous painter does, like Leonardo da Vinci. Like any of those well-trained artists, they held a vision. This is what I want. And where you need to pivot, you can pivot. But for the most part, the vision is the vision. And you move forward as best you can to bring it down into the earth, bring it down into this material plane as best as you possibly can. Ignite your creative expression. This is the pathway to spirituality. If you're interested in the course, link below. I would love to see you there. I'd love to walk with you on this journey as you explore a whole new elevation, a whole new aspect to a spiritual life that is unique to yours because you were designing something that's just perfect for you. Perfect for you. Thank you for being here. As always, I love you all. Thank you for your comments and your support. And I will see you in the next one, my friends. Take care. Bye.